get started with the committee portion of the meeting. We'll start with a report from Tara Rose on the athletic
Hi, guys.
programs.
So I'll make it as short as I can this year. And I'll send you the presentation tomorrow, mostly because of a survey we did, so you can see those results. So first I just want to thank you guys. You can keep going to the next one, Brian. Thank you guys. Big thanks to Dr. I know he's not here anymore, but he's been a huge supporter of athletics and of the school. So, but the board, having new administrators for me this year with Mike and Craig, they've been fantastic to work with. Definitely a transition because they're very different than Peggy and Mark, but it's been very, very good. So if you want to go to the next one. So we've kind of aligned our mission with the school's mission, but what the kids hear me say a lot is we talk about our core values. Every time we talk with them, we talk about integrity, sportsmanship, and leadership. And we do Students of the Month for that as well. So if you want to move on to the next one. So I always try to highlight one thing that we've had huge growth of. We have 78% of freshmen in some type of sport, which I think is a huge growth. We have 62% of overall, but we've seen a growth in freshmen, and we have 71% of our general middle school, which is a growth as well. So sixth graders only at 48%, but they're limited to the amount of sports. There's only a few we offer, but we offer all of our sports at 7th and 8th grade, and we have 71% of participation. So I've been really proud of the growth in that. And that's kind of one of my goals, is to help grow the middle school, just because we know how being involved in athletic activities is linked to just so many wonderful things. So with that, so if you want to move on to the next one. So for the first time, this is year 4 for me, I sent out an athletic department survey. I sent it to all parents, 5 through 12, and kids, 7 through 12. And it was a majority parents, and I will send you this so you can kind of look at it. We had a lot of positive response. Me, Craig, and Mike looked through it a little deeper. The only question that I feel like was question number 2, had to do with communications. It was definitely one that was more neutral versus positive. Otherwise, we had 70 to 90% of like positive responses from families, which was really good. If you want to go to the next one. So I'll send you this so you guys can look at it. Very happy with the sportsmanship and just kids developing, relatable life skills through participation. But overall, we had a lot of like good, excellent, or above average. So if you want to work to the next one. So we are addressing the communications. So I'll talk about coaches a little bit, but me and Brian actually talked about this today. So one of the biggest things that parents, particularly parents, not kids, they talked about communication being an issue within athletics. Not a huge issue, but it was definitely one of those things that flagged. And this was something I was looking at doing, but having the data to back it. So we are going to use a communication app called SportsU. It's a US-based company. All data is kept within the country. And on an admin side, me, Brian, Craig, Mike, Daryl, if we have a records request, they keep records for 9 years that we can pull data from for a conversation between a coach and a kid. I have told my coaches, and tell them blue in the face, you should not be texting kids. Do some of them still do it? They absolutely do. And I've told them, I'm legally telling you, you should not be doing that. I'm going to I haven't required my high school coaches to do this, but I'm requiring all my coaches to have a SportsU team and to communicate at least weekly. Some of them do, and the reason why is this provides one place for parents. So parents could have like a football, a wrestling, and a baseball team. And like I have it, this is endorsed by the WA, by WADA, by legal counsels. Like this is the endorsed app for this because of what they provide. It's also free to the district, so it's no cost. It's and I'm going to encourage over and over and over, this is how you should be communicating with your athletes and your parents. And the coaches can have an athlete group and a whole group, so if they want to just send a message to their team like, hey, we're leaving here for the bus or whatever. So some new coaches that we've added, a decent amount. So Katie Teets is our new FIA teacher. She's committed to being an assistant volleyball coach starting next year, girls basketball and track and field. She's been a great addition. Nick Johnson is coaching baseball right now. We just hired Dustin Vickerman for football, and Hannah Unrun was hired for soccer. She's a Unity teacher, but obviously we co-op for soccer, and so Unity hires that position, but both Corey and I were in on kind of the hiring. Hannah's been an assistant coach for the last couple of years, and she does a really nice job. So some things that we're looking to do this summer is a coaches retreat, like a half day where we talk about leadership and mental health within athletics. And one thing that I noticed consistently with my student surveys is students have felt like, they're like, it's not fun. Now when you're winning, it's fun. We don't always win. And it can be very grinding. So two things that both me and the coaches kind of talked about, and my SALT group, which is my leadership group, we talked about adding warm-up Wednesdays. And I don't ever want to add something to the coaches' plate. They're already overworked and underpaid. They, constantly, a lot of them are watching film at home. They're doing this for their sports. So I said, I don't want to put something on your plate. So what I said is have kids every Wednesday for 10 minutes. The kids plan a warm-up game, something that's fun. It's totally not, has to be sports related, something fun. And my SALT group, we do a lot of that in our meetings. We start with something fun and activity. I said, we'll put a list together. And you just say, hey, Abby, you have this Wednesday. So a way to add some just kind of, and some coaches do this well already. Some coaches, this isn't their cup of tea. But I said, put it on the kids. It's a win-win. They get to add a little bit more fun into practice, and they get to develop their leadership skills because they're leading their own team in that warm-up. So if you want to move on to the next one.
Can you, just
yeah.
for, now that we're online and stuff.
Yep.
What is that group, the SALT group?
So our SALT group is student athlete leadership team. So I remind them, so we meet twice a month. We've kind of 3 goals. One, I use them as an advisory council, like what are things you want to see in athletics? What are things you feel would be a better change in terms of, not always policy, but so one of the things that kids have suggested is, different things for Pep Fest or state fit noms. Things that they'd like to see. And this is one thing they're like, practice can be a grind. Like, and I love winning, but 75 to 80% of the kids, they're not going to play beyond high school. They're there for memories and a positive experience. So, but our SALT group, we do a leadership, we normally do a leadership reflection. So we start with some type of leadership activity. We've gone through books and different things that way. And then the goal is also to volunteer. So some of our SALT kids are going to help Mrs. Below with field day on Friday. We've done Ronald McDonald. They help with Hoops for Hope. So things like that as well. They help with backpacks like once or twice a month as well. So that's what that group is.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Joe was the District 1 Coach of the Year, and you may have seen our wrestling coaching staff get a ton of accolades that they'll technically get for next year. But we have the Assistant Coaches of the Year as a group. Joe is the State Coaching of the Year for wrestling, and Katie Rager is the Female District 1 Coach of the Year. So just a lot of awards for them I want to recognize. You want to go to the next one? So here's our student athletes. So our SALT group is that student athlete leadership group. They do leadership and giving back. So this year, we do backpacks. We normally sign up for once or twice a month to pack backpacks and deliver. So they give up their study hall time to be able to do that. We did Ronald McDonald House, and where that kind of started was our middle son, Graham, was in the hospital a couple different times. He thought he had epilepsy at one point. He didn't, but our family benefited from Ronald McDonald House having a meal there, and it was something that I wanted to be able to give back because it's like the worst time when your child's in the hospital. So, and the kids have loved it. They absolutely love going there. We make a meal and serve. They help with Hoops for Hopes. They also do a lot of youth sports and officiating. Last week we went to ES recess. We're going to come back one more time. When we're there, we go over rules. So like we play kickball and remind them of the recess kickball rules with sportsmanship. We're talking about being positive for our team. So just kind of encouraging the kids to be really positive. And then we normally do kickball and soccer and just remind the kids of the rules at recess time and things like that. We always do a Heart of the North Sportsmanship and Leadership Summit. We've recognized Athletes of the Month. For the first time this summer, we have a mental health resource center. And that's geared again more towards athletes, absolutely able for all kids. So right now it's set outside kind of my office. During the summer it's gonna be outside of the weight room, because that's one of the only times our upper middle school and high school kids come to school. And STAR provided some money to kind of get that started, and then I did some as well with fundraising money. And what that is it's a resource, like resources for kids that are struggling with mental health. There's coloring sheets, there's books on it, and there's specific things for athletes, how to handle pressure as an athlete. So things that kids could grab and use without necessarily having to talk to someone if they're not feeling comfortable, and just different resources for them available for that. So again, I always do athlete surveys, so I plan to do kind of that parent survey every 4 years to gauge how they're feeling. But students get surveys every year after the sport they compete. And I'm actually gonna switch that next year to a mid-year survey. Because I talk to coaches and I'm like, I get this, kids have really good perspectives, actually, normally. But by the time the season is in, the coach has to then implement that a year from now. So I actually got another AD that's like, I actually do mid-year surveys. So then I can tell the coach, hey, this is how your team is feeling mid-season, and they can actually make positive changes for the second half of the year. So this year, for the first time, we had a signing night ceremony. It was great. We had 9 kids sign for their college letter of intent. And it was super fun. A lot of parents and grandparents loved it, because normally we do it during the day. It's very hard for parents to come. So I plan to continue this. The one change I'm going to make is try to make it a little closer to the end of practice time, so we have more high school kids there. And then NIL education. So I've been doing this slowly with kids, and just kind of as we go through that. So if you want to go to the next one, Brian. So this is a picture of our Hoops for Hope fundraiser. We raised a little over $3,000 for a breast cancer organization. And we honored Coach Maternowski as with her fight with breast cancer. We teamed up with Lady Smith this night for a doubleheader, and Lady Smith's admin teams, coaches, they were fantastic. Their parents, everyone was super supportive. It was a great night. Jen Ellison did a lot of the organizing. Like, I did a lot of coordinating, but she did the bulk of the fundraising organization. I certainly can't take credit for that. I was just more of, here's a t-shirt order, just more of the communication piece. So that was a super cool night, and a wonderful thing beyond just sport. So I think there's some new things for facilities. So I actually just got door wraps. So outside of the high school office are those door wraps. There's also more on the inside and on my doors. They really kind of spruce the space up. We got a golf simulator this year for the first time. That is in the fitness area. Both boys and girls golf will be able to use, and there's plenty of other kids that want to use it. But this allows, especially for boys golf, they were able to hit and do things before they get outside, which was awesome. And so that came from a donation, fundraising, and a little bit of athletics money. If you haven't been out, irrigation area by baseball and soccer has had a big overhaul. And then batting cage improvements. Mr. Warner, our batting cage in the high school definitely needed some updates. It was a little unsafe, if I'm being honest, and so it was nice to get that updated this year. If you want to go to the next one here, the other door wraps that are on. So the outside of my doors has athletics and our core values, and there's 2 quotes on the inside kind of about leadership. I think signage and kids seeing those things are important. They're reading those things and they're constantly on their mind. So I have kids running in and out of my office to get candy every block for some of them. So they get to see those at least on the way. If you want to go to the next one. So a little bit for me, again, I'm not going to go over all of this. There's a lot that I do. One of the new things that will impact me in the next 4 years, I'm very active in WADA, which is our state organization as athletic directors. Last year I was voted as our VP. So I will do a 4-year term for WADA. So next year I'll be vice president, the year after I'll be president-elect, president, and past president. This allows me to serve, and the reason I chose to do this, we have not had a representative from north of 29 in almost 20 years for the state of Wisconsin. I'm only the 5th female to ever serve on the executive board, and we've also, small schools are not represented well there as well. So right now we have 3 ADs from the Milwaukee area on the board. You don't know what we deal with in the northwest portion of the state. The last person to represent the northwest was Brad Namick from Somerset, and that was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, and that was the last time we've had a relatively smaller school. So I just felt like the northwest portion of the state, having that representation is really important, and a lot of the rules that get pushed through are from bigger schools. And so wanted to be able to do that. It also allows me to be a voting delegate at the national conference. So Wisconsin gets 5 voting delegates. I will be one of those 5 the next 4 years. This year I got the chance to go to Austin for the national convention, not paid for by the school, completely paid for by me personally, and the S Club did my registration, which was really nice. WADA will pay for me to go the next 4 years as a delegate. It was probably the best professional development I've ever had. I got to meet, one of my favorite things was we had a female AD caucus. And that was incredibly powerful, people all over the United States, and being a underrepresented group in a largely male-dominated, we have our own, things that we deal with for that, so that was great. But again, I'll share this with you. If you want to go to the next one, kind of more of my day-to-day things. So again, some of you know this, but I'm a teacher during the day as well. So sometimes I'm doing RTI. I'm teaching the sports marketing and management class. And this year I've been in a lot of subbing. So I've been subbing in the high school office a decent amount for AMG and just for coaches. So, yesterday I filled in 4th block for Katie. I try my best for coaches to not be stressed, to be able to fill in their classroom when I can. That's not always possible. So the last couple of years, I have co-taught the sports marketing and management class. Next year, Mike asked me to teach it on my own, which is totally fine. I taught on my own this year when Katie Jacobson was on sabbatical. It just adds more to grading and prepping. But in terms of my education, this year I got my CAA, which is a certified athletic administrator. That required me to take 5 like grad level classes and take an exam. I haven't taken an exam in a while, so that was like nerve-wracking. But those classes, actually 3 of them were law-based, so law-based in athletics, which scares the bejesus out of you because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get sued tomorrow. Because there's so many lawsuits in athletics. Now, it just prepares you kind of better to have, so a lot of things that came out of that, emergency action plans for every field. You know, those types of things, making sure we have that. And so I really like that. Public relations and athletic promotion is a big part of my job. I take a lot of pride in that. A lot of people come here for athletics, and the person they see there are our ticket takers, who are lovely old ladies, and I tell them that, and they're okay with being old, they like it. But like, they're always a pleasant, and no matter what, I mean, I see a lot of parents, lots of families, lots of kids. I think being that positive presence is really important for the district. Leadership and citizenship is incredibly important to me, and so I volunteer for the backpack program. I volunteer for Dollars for Scholars. I do streaming for We Are SCF when Chris can't, so I'm kind of that fill-in. Doing the senior lock-in this year. I've been volunteering as a softball coach, and I also fill in the weight room when I can. There's very few nights I can, because I'm always at games, things like that, but when I can, I'm able to fill in there. Working hand in hand with admin, district office staff, transportation, maintenance, and custodian. We've had some change in maintenance. Transportation, Rita and Deb have done fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, the fall was awful. It was rough. We became transportation directors, boom, like out of the blue, and and Rita and Deb have done amazing to turn that around. But the fall was really rough. It was like, okay, we have to find transportation today. However, like, again, I can't think, it's been working with Rita and Deb on that has been fantastic, and it's in a much better place. Thank the Lord. So I work with media, obviously the Heart of the North Conference and the WA for award recognition. We generate revenue, and again, we have the new online school store, which is great because people can purchase things online whenever they need. But we also get a kickback from that from BSN. We already had like $600. So we could purchase uniforms from that, we could purchase clothes from that. So that's a nice perk of having it as well. So if you want to go to the next one, I'm very proud of the excellence that we have here. So starting in 2023, we've gotten the WA Award of Excellence, which will continue. And that's just kind of been a destination district. I like using that because I truly believe that. But it takes a lot of things for improvement. And just to share some of the success, so if you want to go to the next one, probably know our wrestling team was state champions. This does impact them next year. They're going to be moving up to likely Division I wrestling, which is incredibly hard. We won't know for sure because next Monday I go to sports advisory in Stevens Point, and we are voting on some tournament procedures, which might impact how they seed the 3 divisions for wrestling, because right now they're not even. Like, it's not even amount of schools. But there's a decent chance we're in Division I for wrestling. And what really stinks is our team success is gonna have a massive impact on the individuals trying to go to state. So just a heads up on that. So the next one, state hockey was in hockey was in the state semifinals, had a fantastic. We had 10 boys in the hockey program with Somerset. Dance got 5th at state, which is one of their highest places ever. A really wonderful group of senior girls finished their careers with dance, so that was super fun. And for the first time, I got to go to state dance, and that is a whole experience, state dance. I thought wrestling parents were crazy. They don't have anything on dance parents, so no, they don't. It was very fun. Volleyball was regional champs after a really great year. Football had a fantastic year as first time ever being Heart of the North Conference champs and going level 3. And then if you go to the next one, just kind of consistency. So me and Craig actually just had a conversation through email this morning on athletic training. So we tried to partner with St. Clair Health, and we've kind of done that. What we felt is for the money we would put in and the time we would get, it doesn't make sense for the partnership necessarily. It would be, so what we're going to be looking to do is independently contract a athletic trainer. So Chautauqua Warehouser does it. I actually have a meeting tomorrow morning. This app is called Go4, and it specifically coordinates, so you basically, it's like athletic trainers for hire, essentially is what it is. So, and this has been it's been a bit of a stressor in my world, because I get a lot of schools that come here and they're mad. They're mad at me that we don't have an athletic trainer. I need someone to take my ankle. Sorry. And I take ankles a lot. Having Kirk Anderson and Mackenzie Nordgaard have filled in, but they are EMTs. They're not always in the sports medicine world. They both have done pretty well. One of the biggest things is we have not had anyone to rehab our kids after school. We've had no one for the time that I've been here. And for families that have money, it's great. They take their kids to TCO. For families that don't have money, their kids get nothing. And so for me, it's that equity piece of if we can provide it and we can find someone, I think it's important. And we are the only school in the heart of the North that does not have an athletic trainer. So now, a lot of them do piece things together like we have, but we are the only one that doesn't have that kind of consistent piece. And so, as it's someone who went through without an athletic trainer, as many of you did, it feels like a first world problem. But when most other schools provide that, it's hard to be the one that doesn't. And I definitely, and I sent out multiple emails to ADs, please tell your coaches we don't have that. Because I get a lot of coaches that were mad at me, and I'm like, I did tell your AD, I want you to know, proactively, that we just don't have this. It's not like we're not trying, it's just something we don't have. So cohesiveness within the athletic department is really important. Wrestling space has been a big issue. We just have a huge growth, especially our boys program is huge, and then you add 15 girls in 2 years, and we just don't have a lot of space. So we were able to utilize the stage for practice this year. That was huge. The girls were able to practice in there while the boys were here. But that's something that we're continuing to look for, because our program's not going to lower it probably at any time, and that room is just not safety, we just can't have. And so, but the coaches have done a really nice job of, okay, let's go to the weight room with this group while this group practices, and vice versa. But it just puts more pressure on them. Soccer field improvements, we're kind of always working to level that out. It's just a very bumpy field. Baseball, soccer, and track sound system is definitely needed to be updated in the next few years. You can't play music on it because of just how the speakers are. So right now we've been using the Valley's, like the church speakers that Chris Folkstead brings out there. It's great, but Katie Folkstead will be at some point. So we're adding Phil to baseball and softball this fall. And just, quality pay and quality coaches is something I monitor. We have a Heart of the North spreadsheet of, hey, how are our coaches getting paid to the rest of how are our supervisors getting paid, those types of things. Obviously, officials' pay is dictated for the most part by the conference. The conference tells us what we have to pay. That keeps rising. The sports that are in jeopardy of not having officials very soon are soccer, football, and baseball. Like football games, you're going to see football games on Thursday and Saturday because and if you watch a football game, 75% of the crews are 60 and older. And we do not have young crews going through. Right now, soccer or football is the only sport I don't have. I have varsity filled. I do not have, I normally fill officials out about a year ahead of time. I cannot find football officials for middle school. And I said, Greg, will you please officiate middle school football? And he said yes. So, but that's what I'm doing. Soccer is just the area we're in, and baseball. Baseball and softball are really similar. Softball is an hour and 15 minutes. Baseball is 2 hours. So a lot of officials have choose softball over baseball, and it's just hard. And so we need Unity and Osceola both have officials classes, so they actually teach high school kids how to be officials in high school, which is awesome. So I've kind of asked some of them, hey, do you have responsible quality ones? So that's something I'm going to look into. For the most part, because I'm quite organized, I normally am able to fill those, but it's definitely something that I tell the kids, we have to treat officials with respect because we may not have them. And right now, officials want to come here. A super cool thing that happened 2 weeks ago after I finished this is our basketball table won an award from the Officials Association for best basketball table. Hosting officials love to come here. And that's something we want to do. We want our officials to feel that way when they come here. So I think there's just a thank you at the end. Yeah. So I will send this to you guys tomorrow. Mostly because of the survey results in case you want to dig into that. I was really it was very positive to see lots of positive comments. A lot of, comments here and there, but overall, lots of positiveness from families. And to get the kind of feedback that I thought we would on communication to share with coaches. If you haven't met my coaches, they're a really stubborn, awesome group. They're amazing, but they do love, so having that data to show coaches, this isn't me telling you that we need to do better in communication, which it is, but the parents in the community are saying we need to do better in communication. They like to see that data. My coaches are a why group. Why are we doing this? Why do we have to do this? They're amazing, and that's what makes them so good at coaches. They're detailed oriented. And we just have an amazing group of coaches. And even Dustin being new here, he's like, wow, it's not like this in Austin. So it's been super fun. Any questions?
Yeah, do you know, I don't remember the exact number, but there was like 130 some respondents on the survey.
Yep.
Do you know how many went out?
500, I can look at it, yeah, 500 and some. I sent it out to all, fifth, and some parents, fifth and sixth graders, like, my kids aren't really involved, or their kids might not be involved in athletics at all. There's, 20% of kids that aren't, involved. I definitely, you get obviously people that are really passionate both ways, either negative or positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share the comments too. I can share the whole survey with you. Craig and I and Mike kind of looked through it more with the fine tooth comb of, okay, what are we seeing in trends? Communication was the biggest one. And I remind my coaches this, and this is one thing that's hard, balancing competitiveness with the experience is really hard. Some of my coaches do it really well, and some of my coaches are like, I just want to give my kids a great time but not challenge them. That's not what we want, and I only want to win and challenge my kids. That's also not what we want. Again, I don't have a lot of those, and that's where the conversations, and that's where I love the student surveys, because it's really easy for me to share with the coach saying, your kids want to be pushed more. So I just had a conversation with the coach and said, you could up the intensity. These kids can be pushed more. You're doing a great job providing a great experience. The kids are having fun, but we want to push them. We want to challenge them. We want to be more disciplined. Those are life skills that are, so, some of my coaches balance that really well, and so it's fine. And I've talked to Mike and Craig. We are not in the liberty of firing coaches or letting coaches go because, well, I have a girls golf coach vacancy, totally open. I'm always going to find coaches. It's not like, we were lucky that we had applicants for football. Like, we were incredibly lucky, and that's one of the only sports, unfortunately or fortunately, that people are willing to move their family to coach. There's a lot of young men that want to be a varsity football coach. And I'm also very fortunate that we have so many teachers that coach. So Amory just hired an AD because their AD is leaving, and that AD is my former student. He came to shadow me for a day, and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys, he was just very impressed, but probably 60 to 70% of the coaches at Amory are not teachers. And they don't understand that kids, it's not, like, and we talk about this as coaches, it is not the kid's job to adjust to you, it is you as a coach to adjust to your kids. You are a teacher first, you're teaching skills, you're teaching life skills. And that's something that we don't have to teach teachers, they get it. And so that's something that's great. Like, a lot of times when I talk to, so many of my coaches, they're teachers, and they know how kids learn. They know how kids are socially and emotionally. They understand what, the impact of trauma. They understand all of those things because they're great teachers too. So, but I can send you the whole Google survey. You're welcome to look at the comments. Some of them are kind of funny, to be honest. When Craig and I and Mike are looking through, and there's some very persistent people. Like, there's one woman, she wants tennis here, and she told me that on every single comment. I want tennis. And I'm like, we don't even have tennis courts. Do you know that? And something, I agree, I love that passion, but some things are not feasible for our size of school. Some things are, and we're not a growing school, at least in the lower grades. So those are things that we have to consider. And so with co-oping. Yeah, any other questions?
No, you're doing a great job. You forgot one thing. We have an alumni that signed with the Green Bay Packers.
That is really cool. That is amazing. I had two coaches send me the article that he, shared with, and that's just, it's such a cool thing. We talked about that in our class, because right now we're going through, it's been fun because since we passed NIL, we've been using the language, the kids have to create, what would a endorsement at the high school level, what could it look like with these rules? Because they very much look different than the NCAA. And it's just that's a very different landscape that all of us athletic directors are trying to navigate, because it's new. And I think a lot of parents think of what it's done at the college level, and it's very different at the high school level. Also probably share that kind of slideshow with you guys so you can actually see how the new rule is written. The one other thing I forgot to mention that was passed that is good and bad, so summer contact for coaches has changed. It used to be coaches got 5 days, and that was it. We just passed at the WA annual meeting that summer contact is completely open June 1 to August 1, minus a dead week in July. And as a small school director, and so I appreciate that it puts it into local control. So here's an example. I'm gonna use Stacy Hopp. So Stacy Hopp always did like 5 days of volleyball practice with her girls, and she would have a parent coach at volleyball league. Nothing really changes for the amount, and one of my worries is I don't want one of our coaches going rogue. I don't want our kids to get burnt out. I very much value multi-sport athletes, and that is the cornerstone of our school, is having 2 and 3 sport athletes. So I told my coaches, we're not overwhelming our kids. And this is one of those things that came from a big school. This came from big schools. They want their varsity coaches working with, say, a baseball player who only plays baseball. Great. Well, our kids are balancing maybe a volleyball, a basketball, and a track coach that wants their attention. And so I told my coaches, nothing changes this summer. You basically stick with that 5-day rule, and we're gonna adjust as we go. We're not gonna overwhelm the kids. And as a conference, we're gonna try to build consensus, because what always happens is, well, they're doing this at Osceola, or they're doing this so that's where coaches feel pressure. One thing this did, and we kind of adjusted, this allowed the conversation of some of our coaches are running their youth camps as a summer school class. It allows them to get paid as a coach, which is nice, because this makes coaches feel pressure to work extra unpaid hours all over the summer. You know, they're feeling pressure because, okay, now I can do it, I should be doing it. And so I wanted to provide my coaches, and so we talked at an admin meeting. So like Chad Hall and Angie, it looks different. They call it basketball fundamentals. Any kid can take it. We can't charge the kid, which is awesome. That means kids can go to basketball camp or volleyball camp for free instead of paying something, and our coaches get paid. And the school can benefit with having that extra money. And so that came out of this conversation. I heard other ADs doing that, and I'm like, that's awesome. You know, and it provides maybe for a family that couldn't afford that $40, $50 fee, well, now it's free. And our coaches get paid to do it as a summer school. Now, it has to be more generic than just basketball camp. So it's like basketball fundamentals. And any kid can take it. So it's offered through our summer school program. I just signed up my 2 kids for it, for basketball camp. So basketball and volleyball are running their camp that way. They're running as a summer school class. And so that was one way to show my coaches, hey, I'm trying to do what I can to get you at least some paid hours, right? And it's kind of a win-win for the school district, for our kids, and for our coaches. So I do like.
So then it's not run through community ed.
Correct.
Right.
It's run through summer school. Yep. Football is still doing theirs through community ed as more of a fundraiser. So I basically told the coaches, you can run it as a fundraiser for your program, charge the kids $40 or whatever, t-shirt, whatever they want, or you can't do both. Like it can't be a summer school class we can't charge kids for. And obviously with summer school we have to have attendance, things like that. And just like what we do with the weight room and other things. So that was one, but that's a big change that I've been very clear with my coaches. I don't want you taking over our kids' lives. I want them, to have a summer. So so as a Heart of the North Conference, we're kind of seeing how this summer plays out and talking as a conference and as a district, so that the more consensus we can have to say, hey, everyone's doing about 7 or 8 days. So I know for volleyball and basketball, so like Stacy, what Stacy's doing, she's keeping her 5 days of practice, but she'll coach at league now. So the girls have no more volleyball this summer than they normally would. It's just that Stacy's gonna coach league versus a parent. Last year she had a parent coach league. So Stacy will do those types of things. Same with Angie, and he's doing that as well. And football is very hard for coach contact because you have to acclimatize. You can't Football you can't just like throw on pads and go. You have to step through, which is really great for that. But it does, and here's where it does allow. So, you know, like I'm gonna use Nolan Emhoff as an example. He long snapped, that's what he does in college too. Grant couldn't work with Nolan, or he'd use one of his coach's days. Well, now, if a kid's just randomly doing something in the gym, you can say something to him. So that's the positives of those. So those are kind of the big changes, is the NIL and summer contact for that. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Again, you're doing great.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna go back to the games.
I don't know that we need the comments probably, but I would like to see the slides and the NIL
Yep,
slides. too.
For sure. I'll send those tomorrow. I sent myself an email, send the board your presentation. So I'll send this presentation so you kind of look through it more. I'll send the survey, like the questions, and just so you can see more of the details. And the NIL presentation is what I've shared with parents and kids. And the biggest thing with this is educating that, but honestly, it's more so educating the public, because a business member, so Kirk and I will do some more press release stuff with that as we go. So, but it goes into effect June 1. So, I know, here we go.
No?
So, all right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've got prom, right?
Yep.
All right. Prom date, location, and date for the 25, well, it's April 25th, 2026 at the Falls. Oh, what am I missing? What is the Falls?
Same location as this year.
Is that,
Yeah. So the piece that come with Mike Wilson is venues are looking for commitment a year in advance or more. We know the location and the date, so we'll bring back to the board for next meeting for approval.
okay. All right, any questions on that?
Do the students nominate the location, or are they a part of kind of suggesting different places? Or is it strictly a board decision?
I believe the students have been involved in locating.
In the past, they have, yeah.
Yeah, historically, it was all students and then led by their advisor, but we just have to give the stamp of approval essentially to say, yes, we're okay with that. And for example, in the past, if it's been someplace at some great distance, the board has said, yeah, we're okay with that, but you have to take district transportation to that location.
Like Stillwater, if you want to go on a boat or something.
Sure.
So we just kind of look for the loopholes or the concerns, but otherwise, we agree.
Yeah.
They can do it.
All right. Hearing no more, we'll move on to Brian and the phone and bell paging systems update.
Yeah, I sent in the board packet information regarding an upgrade to our existing phone system and a tool called Informacast. Informacast is an emergency communication platform. It also runs our paging and bell systems in our facilities. The two tools work intertwined, thus the reason this is kind of a two-step project. We'll be actually starting this summer with the Informacast piece, and then mid-year with upgrade and migration to Cisco WebEx calling. It's going to be a web-based solution versus our on-premise hardware and software and servers. Did put out the bid to competitive bidding to make sure that we're getting good value for our expenses. In the package, you saw that leading forward with Heartland Solutions that came in at a lower price bid for both facets of it compared to the other bid that was included in there. Yeah, I guess I'm just bringing it for information tonight, and the next board meeting will be asking for approval to move forward with both packages. The total cost of the project is $120,194, thus for involving the board, and it's included in my 6-year capital plan. So I have a capital plan for purchases for technology, and I always forecast out 6 years, and this is within that budget that I had forecasted.
And we're paying all this up front for 5 years.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Which is odd, because they seem to want that payment monies, but.
So we're getting the licenses for 5 years. We will be paying the connection to Digital First, I believe is the company, for the actual connection to the phone. But upfront on the Cisco licensing is all upfront for us.
Okay. Is there any, like, so the phones you don't have to replace, but do
Nope.
they have to I mean, are they end of life, or are you gonna be around, or I'm assuming you can go to the app at that point if you need to too?
Right, we can utilize, the nice part is the solution doesn't require just our phone system, so in the case of a emergency, we'd actually be able to take our computers, go to a different internet location source and be able to receive and send phone calls as if we were in school. A cell phone can transition into the same thing. So that part from an emergency perspective is very much a plus. The other piece is our existing phones that we have are definitely under compatibility, so we don't have to buy new phones. That's the reason why I'm looking at this solution versus a MyTel or other solution that would require different hardware. There were some firmware and software updates that would happen when we're looking to target spring break of next year for the cutover. We'll do all the before work starting probably about in January with the phone system.
Have you thought about, like, I know you're always gonna need some physical phones, right? Common areas or whatever, but even, not right now because your phones are still good, but, 5 years down the road, moving to just the software app?
With the nature of the classroom, no. Oftentimes teachers are looking for their phone, they'll grab that versus a device. Versus a desk worker, that's a different entity. So having a physical phone in a room is still, I think, going to be required of the classrooms. What we did, and we experienced it in COVID, is we had teachers that would be able to also make phone calls from their computer, and it looked like they're coming from school as well.
Yeah.
So it does provide that flexibility, and we've leveraged that in the past, so be even more flexible going forward.
And if you have a remote day, I mean, technically they would be able to get their calls on there too, but, sorry, I was gonna email you a lot of these, but maybe I ran out of time. I think one of the proposals had 100 DIDs and the other had 170. Do all the classrooms have individual DIDs? Which DIDs are the 10-digit numbers, basically. So if you have a home phone, that's a DID, or, some locations will have an internal only number. That's not a DID. Just to clarify what that is.
We are speccing it for existing one-for-one match of what we have currently in system. Not all school phones have a external dial-in number. But we do have a number such as what we're extending into the solution to the daycare. Dresser is also the same solution. Both coming under the same umbrella. We were to work with rates and the various other telcos to make that transition. Not all classroom phones, we still have to call the elementary office to get Miss Larkin. So that would still be in existence.
Okay. Because you'll be able to then physically get rid of paying for the physical lines, right?
Correct. So that's where it captured. I asked if Heartland, been doing this with other districts, and they said we can provide you a total cost of ownership review of the solution versus where you're at now. So I asked them to do that for me, and over 5 years' time, we'll start saving money versus staying with an on-premise solution. Because of that reduction of physical lines, we'll be getting rid of a lot of our, we're moving to a analog to digital conversion, so our fax lines will go to analog to digital conversions, we'll be able to go into the solution still. Well, those were some of those DIDs come into play too, for our fax machines, elevator, and the like.
Can you convert an elevator?
Supposedly, I'm told they can do an analog to digital conversion. We have two of them.
Here?
We have an elevator in the Fine Arts Center going up to the control room, and one in the gym between the wrestling room and between the locker rooms. And a pool on the 5th floor.
If you can swim that far.
All right, and then you talked about the daycare and their dresser and different things. Is it just a matter of porting those numbers over to the same company, and then you're just relying on the internet, or?
Yes. Working currently to get fiber into Appleseed building, and then once that's there, I'm confident in the connection quality to be able to handle not only our video camera solution that's in there, but also voice over IP. We're doing currently the similar connection address with no problem.
And then what about, you have redundant internet?
We have redundant internet here at this location, so if right now if Charter Spectrum goes down, we're still up. We don't feel that, but current solution of phones, if Charter Spectrum goes down, we lose our phones because that's our current provider for phones. Whereas if we go into completely internet-based, we'll be able to maintain that redundancy because I've positioned us to have redundant internet connection in the district.
Yeah, yeah, which is good. Unless you have a major outage.
If I lose power, we'll have a few minutes before power and light, stuff starts going off. And we're, as I was talking with some of the engineers, in reality, 99% of adults now carry a cell phone on them, and that then become our emergency solution at that point, as we no longer have power anyways.
No, right, they're hard to function without power. Internet is your always worry. All right, I think you got all my questions answered.
So we'll be bringing it next board meeting for approval. It's a two-step project. First part will be completed in the summer with InformaCast upgrade to InformaCast Fusion, which is required of Cisco Voice WebEx calling. And then the WebEx calling will be kicked off in usually January with a target implementation date of spring break.
This takes care of all the E911 requirements too.
Yeah, it works with a digital provider, and actually we're going to work to utilize some of the mapping that we put in place within the district, so that when a call is made from a phone, it's going to be more precise than it is currently.
Yeah, which is a federal rule now to have that. I just thought one other thing, but I can email you if I remember. Did you guys have any questions?
You clearly know a lot more about this than we do. Yep. Yes. Will our phones work? That was my only concern, and I trust that Mr. Gray has it covered.
But I'm assuming they have a bandwidth. I mean, you guys have a lot of bandwidth, but you got a lot of kids too that, it's not going to be impacted. We don't have to increase the bandwidth.
No, I'm on an average day utilizing about 40% of our capacity right now, so we're
should be
in
fine.
really good shape.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the other advantages of, like, where I work, they didn't even assign me a phone number. It's all through Teams. Granted, I'm not, even some of the vendors have relationships with us that, they just call me through Teams too, or, you're pushing a cell phone, but yeah, you can start saving costs, like you said, it takes a few years, you're not gonna see a big ROI in year one, but over time, you start seeing that reduction, the old equipment or facilities, whatever you want to call it. So,
You don't have to pay for power or some of those things, and servers.
All right. Hearing no more questions, we'll move on to the defeasance of certain general obligations and free bonding. Craig, are you going to talk to us about it? He can pan that up on YouTube.
Yep, so,
I can.
I appreciate the commentary, but this is status quo. This is what we've done in the past. We did this the last few years, as a result of the referendum that was passed. And what it does is buy down some extra debt, which then in the long term decreases the amount of interest the districts or taxpayers will pay for the bond issue. So it's dollars that are levied for. There's nothing new or different that we need to do. It's not like we're generating more funds as a result of doing this because we've already levied for them, so it's just making good on what we had intended to do.
Yeah, so nothing out of the ordinary, chance for the district to save a little money.
Correct, yeah, and we will put together numbers in terms of what the overall savings to taxpayers would be with respect to less interest paid over the duration of the bond.
That was already in your agenda.
The spreadsheet. Yeah. All right, any questions on that? Hearing none, does anybody need a break before we start the board meeting? Good, all right, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call?
Matt Bryce, Tashina Rager, Don Milky,
Here.
Ronnie Schuler,
Here.
Brett McCurdy.
Here. All right, first thing is the nominating the positions, right?
Oh, reading of the mission
Oh,
statement.
yeah, we're gonna do that, thanks,
Yes,
Ryan.
not a problem. The mission of the School District of St. Croix Falls is to provide a supportive, student-centered learning environment that cultivates character, fosters academic excellence, and embraces diversity. Our board meeting rules are to focus on the mission and vision statements of the district, come prepared, be respectful of others and open and accepting of ideas, actively participate, avoid side conversations, and remember our board meetings are open forums.
All right, thank you, Ronnie. I don't have any public here for that part, so no public presentations or awards tonight. So now we'll move on to accepting the nominations and motions and voting on the following board positions of president, vice president, clerk, and treasurer.
All right. I would like to nominate Brent McCurdy as president, continuing in the current position.
We have a motion by Ronnie to nominate Brent McCurdy.
I'll second.
We have a second by Don. Any other nominations? Hearing none, I can't remember, do we just do voice?
Yes, unless we're uncomfortable with it.
No, there's only three of us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I will make a motion to nominate Tashina Rager as vice president. Yes, she is okay with that.
I will second that.
We have a motion by Brent McCurdy and a second by Ronnie to nominate Tashina Rager as vice president. Any further discussion? Any other nominations? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Matt was the treasurer, right? You want to hang out with me tonight? All right, I'll take a motion to nominate Ronnie Schuler as the clerk.
I'll second.
We have a second by Don. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to nominate Matt Bryce as the treasurer.
Very good.
Quick. I will second that.
A motion by Don and a second by Ronnie to nominate Matt Bryce as the treasurer. All those in favor say, oops, any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our positions have been filled. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to curriculum and policy. We will need a representative for the CC11 annual convention meeting, which is Monday, June 2nd at 7 p.m. in Turtle Lake. It's, I've been there before. You go there and they go over some CISA stuff. You have one member there. Multiple can go, but only one can vote on your, kind of your delegate or for the area, or for your pod, or whatever they call it, your group, and that kind of stuff. So anybody interested in doing that? I'm just going to look and make sure I'm available.
I am available if nobody else is interested.
I'm free to.
Last year Tashina went.
She went
Hopes
with
that
me.
she could
Yeah, but she's probably,
not doing that.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she did come along with just to see what it was all about, so.
I would be interested in going with if I'm available, which I can check.
So,
Up to you, you
I
pick.
don't have to live with the decision. A year.
That's
You know what I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
I have more hours in that race, but I am absolutely willing to Do my part.
Yeah, why don't you go,
Okay.
and then Don, if you're available.
I'm available.
All right, shall we plan to go together?
All right, so we'll need a motion to make Ronnie the representative.
I will make a motion for Ronnie to be the CISA 11 Annual Convention representative.
All right, we have a motion by Don, I'll second it, second by Brent. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks to both of you.
Give me an idea how long that goes.
It says in the paperwork approximately an hour.
Okay.
There's not a meal at that one,
I don't think so.
right? Maybe some snacks, but. All right, next is the vote on policy 830, rules and guidelines of the public use of school facilities, which we've had in our packet for at least one other time. I'm gonna pull it up here. I did think of some things.
I wasn't able to get into the attachment this time, so I opened the previous attachment from the old agenda. Can you get into it right now?
Yeah.
That link isn't contact, I mean, it's red, but it's. I pulled up, I wanted to make sure I was comfortable with it, so if you had questions?
Yeah, didn't you have questions at the last one? And Craig,
Just to amend the language that was
yeah.
omitted the previous time, so we just brought it back one more time with that language addressed.
Yeah, but then I asked, oh, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the changes are fairly minor. What ended up happening is, at the last meeting, I neglected to have the, language change included for you to approve. So we had the conversation last time, but it includes custodial services being billed at a rate of $50 per hour per custodian needed. That was the discussion, that was the whole reason, pardon me, that the policy was brought forward. And then, we included language around, associated fees may be waived and or reduced for organizations based in the school district that are not-for-profit with a sole focus on children. So we could incorporate things like certain community ed courses and offerings and that sort of thing with respect to either a reduced or a free use of the facilities.
All right, so one of the questions I had was, I of course can't find it right now, but I thought in here it said that we had custodians here on Saturdays, and I thought I asked that to somebody between the last couple meetings, and they said, no, we don't anymore, we used to, but, so, which is accurate?
That's correct.
Which
We
is-
do not, and it is not in the policy. So the policy indicates that when custodians are on for normal hours, that it's not charged.
Yeah,
There's some note under the high school that says the hours, it says 8 to 4:30, is that the hour, it says buildings may not be used when custodians are working during non-school hours, and then it lists the school hours, and it lists the Saturday.
Oh, you're right. It is listed 8 to 4 Saturday, so that needs to be removed.
So when we make our motion, we can just say with the removal of those Saturday hours?
but that's for both schools.
I would,
Yep, middle school has it listed also.
middle school's down there too.
Yeah,
So middle school and high school, 8 to 4:30 would have to be removed. And you're correct, Ronnie, that could be approved with those being stricken.
all right, and then so, just for clarification, Brent wants to coach club red volleyball, and there's 6 of the girls are from St. Croix Falls, and 4 of them are from other schools. It is a for-profit organization, would they be charged for that gym time then?
If it's Club Red, we would have to ask them some questions around their status. And frankly, having a daughter that has played in club volleyball, they have the money to pay for a custodian based on what they're charging people to be involved in.
All right.
So I think that determination will be made at the time. If you're talking community ed where it's a parent/volunteer coach, and, you know, there's 8 kids from St. Croix Falls and 3 kids from Osceola, then it would likely be free.
Okay, yeah, so there's gonna be some of that that comes up, I'm sure. Yeah, I agree, I mean, I also had 3 kids go through all that fun stuff, and they paid for a lot more for gym usage in the Twin Cities, or even in Stillwater, or whatever, than they do here,
Oh, yeah.
so. All right, so is somebody comfortable making that motion?
I can make a motion to approve the changes to policy number 830, including striking the Saturday hours in both the high school and middle school section.
I'll
All right.
second it.
We have a motion by Ronnie and a second by Don. You got all that, Lorraine?
Do.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right, next is the hiring of the business education teacher position, which was in that email. I can't for life of me.
That's correct, and
Yeah,
Mike's not present, I believe, correct? He's at a ballgame?
correct.
Yeah, so the individual that, the committee, pardon me, interviewed 3 different candidates, one of which just failed to show. So they technically interviewed 2, and they had arrived at offering that position to Dustin Bickerman, who is the gentleman we hired as the head football coach. I will let the board know that he is not a licensed candidate, but he has indicated interest in becoming licensed potentially. And so what our intention would be is to work through the process of getting him a license with stipulations, is what it's called now, rather than an emergency license. They've changed that language, basically same difference. And get him moving through that continuum. He does, of course, have some attributes and skills that will lend themselves, we believe, nicely to the running of high school business ed.
Yeah, and I just want to point it out for anybody maybe watching, is that he's got his, what, a master's in sports management or something?
Correct.
So it does have some degree that would help with some of that, of course. We'll trust your judgment.
And he is a licensed teacher.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right, we need a motion to approve the hiring of Dustin Vinkerman.
I can make a motion to approve Dustin Bickerman as the high school business education teacher.
All right,
Second that.
we have a motion by Don and a second by Ronnie. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Just so you're aware, Craig, you just have your favorite Rita in the building. And Brian, of course.
Well, I guess that's all you need.
Right. All right, next is the vote and hiring on the candidate for the middle school English language arts teacher position.
Yeah, so in that respect, as I shared with you in the board update, the committee is recommending Maria Hansen for that position. They had, I think it was every 8th grade team member that was part of that interview process, as well as brought in Jody Wolf to go through those interviews. I want to say that they interviewed 7 candidates, 6 or 7, and Maria is the individual that rose to the top. She has many years of experience in another school district here in the area, and is excited to come to St. Croix Falls, where her kids and husband also spend a lot of time. So,
All right, so I'll look for a motion to hire Maria Hansen as the middle school English language arts teacher.
I can make a motion to hire Maria Hansen as the middle school English language arts teacher.
Motion by Don,
I'll second again.
second by Ronnie. Any further discussion?
I think it bears repeating that we have a nepotism policy, and we do review that on the regular, and that we are cognizant of the fact that we are hiring another teacher's spouse, and that we believe that she is the best and most qualified candidate for the job. That we don't hire because of relationship, we hire because of qualification.
Thank you, Ronnie. Yep, and she is in the middle school, and he's in the high school, so there should be no overlapping in that area. They teach different subjects, so thank you.
and I would also mention that the majority of our interview, well, as far as I know, being here for just shy of a year, our hiring process is such that committees vote. And so the idea that there'd be some kind of underlying, inroad as a result of a relationship is diminished as a result of individual human beings having independent opinions and votes on candidates. And the committee collectively selects who would be the candidate brought forward. And that is what happened in this case, and every other that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the vote on the hiring of the candidate for the 4K teacher position.
And as long as Rita's there, she can talk about that.
My voice isn't great today, but it's allergies and plus the writing conference. But it's Maddie Nichols, who's a student teacher for us and has done 2 long-term gigs for us. She's phenomenal. We're absolutely thrilled to have her.
All right. Thank you.
I would make a motion to hire Madeline Nichols as our 4K teacher.
Thank you.
Motion by Ronnie,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the hiring the candidate for the middle high school instrumental music teacher position.
Yeah, and since Daryl and Mike are absent, I'm going to apologize. I pulled it up, but I can't remember what the candidate's
All right.
name was. He is the
I'll jump
gentleman.
in here, Craig, if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Zachary Barch is instrumental music recommendation moving forward. He does have a bachelor's of music education from UWEC and a master's of music education from Corey Moorhead. He's previously taught in Hillsborough School District and last 3 years in Prairie Farm. So this individual has come with experience. They interviewed a number of candidates. I think there was 7 or 9 candidates that applied for the position, which is definitely a testament to interest to our district. So that's been a phenomenal pool, and the comments from the team that made the selection were very positive and look forward to his contributions to the school.
Very good, thank you.
I didn't retain his name, Zachary.
Zachary Barch, Bartschch.
Okay, I'll make a motion to hire Zachary Barch as our middle high school instrumental music teacher.
Motion by Ronnie,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the vote on the resignation of Jennifer Allen, middle school math teacher. And that was, her letter was in our packet.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Jennifer Alwyn as middle school math teacher.
I'll second.
That's fine. We have a motion by Ronnie and a second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Moving on to financial, we have the review and vote on the managed print services contract renewal. Did you get a chance to see that, Don? Because it,
Yes, and I was a part of the board meetings where you talked about it.
You were here, right?
Yeah, I was here when it was presented.
all right. Just wanted to make sure, because we don't have a link on this one. Sure.
Just a recommendation to continue forward with Lawful Print Management Services.
And the price was, can't remember, but up a little bit.
Price was negligible change compared to our previous 5-year, and it looks to be probably a cost savings over time because the per page cost is slightly lower.
All right, so I'll take a motion to approve the managed print services contract renewal with Loeffler.
I can make a motion to approve the managed print services contract with Loeffler.
All right,
I'll second.
motion by Don, a second by Ronnie. Any further discussion? We could just do a voice on this one, right? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the vote on the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bonds dated April 1st, 2021. Which is,
So this, we're seeking action on what you just discussed in committee, and again, status quo with what the district has engaged in the past.
I would like to make a motion to approve or to pass a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation refunding bonds dated April 1st, 2021.
that's a mouthful. We have a motion by Ronnie,
I'll second.
second by Don. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And next on the buildings and grounds, we have the review and vote on the 10-year facility plan. And that was discussed last meeting too, which you were at, right?
She was, I wasn't, but
Oh,
I've seen these things.
okay, thank you. I haven't, well, we'll take a motion to vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the 10-year facility plan as presented.
We have a motion by Ronnie,
I'll second.
second by Don. I do have some questions. The stuff that we saw on here earlier, I can't remember if that was on the 10-year plan or not, what that Tara was showing with the soccer fields and speakers, and maybe that's stuff that isn't major enough for it. But I was just curious about that when she was showing her needs for our athletic facilities, if they, I know other stuff is like the track and, you know, that kind of stuff, but I didn't know if those individual items that she was talking about were included in that, and if they should be.
I did see some of those things, and I'm trying to get to it, that were included.
Yeah, I do know that athletic fields is a tab that's on the 10-year facility plan. And associated with that, there are a number of items that are related. Now specifically what Tara was just talking about, one quick review I got it pulled up here.
But just like the speakers.
Yeah, clock systems.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you're saying.
it was like the overhead, the speaker things where they can't play music and the
Yep.
fill
So-
that's needed for this summer. I think she said it was slated for the field baseball and the softball fields.
Yeah, so there is a clock system / PA system that is listed for track, baseball, softball field, and football field on the facility plan,
Okay,
as well as line and dirt work associated with the field. So Brian Warner did do some, had some conversations and some comprehensive feedback with respect to what's on the plan, and athletic fields is the tab that it's under.
okay, all right, thanks for the clarification. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Doesn't have any announcements. We did get a thank you from,
It's from the elementary staff for the swag, the Saint swag that the board gave them for teacher appreciation, signed by a great number of elementary staffs. Very
Okay.
sweet, but I'm not gonna try to read it all. How about?
okay, now we have the upcoming events that we'll want to get some representation at, if we can. The baccalaureate is tomorrow at Peace Lutheran. High school graduation is next Friday, 7 o'clock. Anybody,
I'll be at both.
okay, so you plan on being on stage?
I'd like to, I don't have to.
No, that's fine. Don, do you have a preference?
I cannot attend tomorrow, I will be at graduation.
Do you want to be on stage?
Do you need to be on stage?
Typically, we have 2 board members.
Okay. I mean, it can be.
Do, whether, yeah, I mean, it's up to
I
you.
don't have any like personal reason, but I feel like I need to be up there.
Yeah. And
If you have any personal reason why you feel like you shouldn't, like whoever you were going with is if you left hanging or.
No.
okay.
I'm trying to-
Yeah, so Matt won't have anybody walking through or anything either.
Addition probably.
Right.
Have the attendant.
He said he would be if we needed him.
Thank you for checking.
Yeah, Doc plans to attend, but of course he wouldn't be on stage if it's not necessary.
All right. So that takes care of graduation. I can reach out to Matt. Doesn't matter. I'll reach out to Matt about tomorrow. I could maybe make it if he can't. All right. So then we have our next board meeting on the 27th. It's regular committee and regular meeting at 5:15. The 8th grade recognition at 2 o'clock on the 28th. We typically have 1 or 2 people at that. At 2 p.m.
I don't have any eighth graders, but I am available. There's somebody with an eighth grader?
I can make that one, Don, if you're gonna do high school graduation.
I can make that one too, so.
Right, I'll do that one.
You want to go that one?
Yep. All right, so then of course the last day of school is May 29th. Hard to believe. Already, and then of course we have our 2 meetings scheduled in June. It just dawned on me that I forgot to reach out to people about the board goals. So I'll probably be doing that to you shortly.
You mean sending an email to find a date? to
Yes.
Do it?
Yeah, I forgot to do that.
I think last year we ended up harvesting one of our June dates because we didn't have a long board meeting or didn't meet 2 room hours.
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
don't know if that will happen again.
Do you guys know yet, Craig or Bill Ray, what's going on for those meetings?
In June, I don't. I know what we have going for the next meeting, but I don't know about June.
It shouldn't be terribly busy, I wouldn't think. I do know we have a couple of hires coming through for sure in June that would be, again, a few minutes apiece. But aside from that, June's usually pretty quiet.
Yeah, I mean, we could plan on having a pretty short board meeting, one of the 2, and then having a goal discussion afterwards.
Remember?
Well, yeah, we'll get some communication out about that. Again, I apologize.
Well, one thing that might be a wise course of action would be to simply have it on the agenda. We'll plan on including it for both meetings. And if we don't have time, then we table it and hit it at the next meeting. You know what I mean? We could do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, what's the next May meeting looking like? Is there a lot on that?
There's a few things. I don't have a lot right now that I'm aware of. I mean, there's a couple things on there, but not a lot. It is the day after
Yeah, we can
Memorial
start
Day.
then. That's one point the hires I was talking about will be accomplished in that May meeting, not pushed to June.
Right.
So,
All right, well, let's keep May one the way it is, and then potentially we'll look at maybe the first board meeting in June. And if there is something that comes up, we can take care of it.
we'll add it to the June 10th agenda, and if we need it on the 24th, we'll put it to the 24th as well.
All right,
Beautiful.
sounds good. Let's hit that blue big arrow, that brings me down.
Just discuss the rules of the meeting with.
All right. Go ahead, Ronnie, please discuss the rules of the meeting.
Yeah, I think we did all right. It was not a lot to be sidetracked by, so remembering board meetings are an open forum, it's an easy one, no side conversations. We participated in prepared, so. Well done again.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I can make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Been
Second.
motion by Don and a second by Ronnie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.